So welcome everyone. Good to have you here, part of our week 2 of the CMALT CMWIC, and for our sort of weekly discussion, catch up, brainstorm, etc. outline. So great to have a number of people here with us. We'll probably have a few more join as we go along. Morning, Lisa. So I'm just going to jump into some screen sharing, and we'll have a look at where we're heading for week 2 and a bit of a summary of what's happened in week 1. So week 1 was really setting up your contextual statements, getting started with your ePortfolios, starting to establish them. So it was good to see a few people doing that and sharing what they've done so far. Be good to get a few more people sharing what they've been up to as well. So the key place to have a look at is our WordPress hub, the cmaltcmwic.wordpress.com hub, where you can find the links to various activities, the weekly activities we're suggesting, outlines, and each week goes over a different section of the CMALT portfolio. The project bank for sharing some examples of work in progress of you're putting together for your portfolio sections. And just an example of that, so far we've had a couple submitted this week, and just an example, Keith's put one here. You can see he's had 3 votes, so he's got 4 out of 5 stars so far, so doing pretty well, Keith. And effectively what this is in the project bank, which is linked, if I go back here, from the main WordPress hub, CMALT.WordPress hub. If you click on the project bank there, it takes you to the project bank, and there's a section for each week, and we're just looking inside the section for week 1 around contextual statements, and in particular Keith's example. And effectively what we've got basically is a link to what it is that you're sharing. In this case, it's a blog post on Keith's blog, which he set up for his portfolio, a bit of a description, and you can also put a custom icon there, so Keith's got a photo of himself. So the link takes us to Keith's blog, and Keith's created a section for a CMALT portfolio, and there's his contextual statement. So it'd be good for people to share, but also for people to give some feedback. So I've just put a little bit of comment there for Keith, and I think that's a really good start. I think the contextual statements are really quite interesting because it's about you. It's about what motivates you, what drives you, what are the key influences that have led you to be involved in educational technology, and why you want to do CMALT accreditation. So I've just put a little comment there, which might be useful for a few people, but try to keep in mind that what you're doing is creating a professional portfolio. And so Keith has talked about a couple of his influences, Diana Laurillard, etc., and Beattie's work. It'd be good to actually have some references for those, Keith, and sort of think about proper academic referencing. Even though you're doing this on a blog, you can still put proper APA formatted in text citations, and I'd suggest perhaps a reference list at the end of each section of your portfolio, so the assessors don't have to jump to an end reference library. They can just jump to the end of that particular section or that post to see the references. So the other things that we were doing was getting people to put themselves on the map. So you can see our participant map. Our latest participant there is from South Australia, Sandy. Welcome, Sandy, to our map.
I do apologise for missing last week. It was the first day of my annual leave, and I slept in.
Oh, what an excuse. Oh.
I know.
And how many hours are you behind us?
I don't know. Where are you?
I'm in New Zealand.
If you're still in New Zealand, then I'm. Well, it's just after 9 a.m. here, so.
Okay, 2.5 hours.
Yeah. And I've been rigorously catching up on last week since I got into the office a couple of hours ago. So
Cool. So we can expect to see your contextual statement soon.
very, very soon. It's in the works.
Excellent. And how about you, Mr. Cowling, or Dr. Cowling, Associate Professor?
Yeah, good. I actually wrote it. I just it was first draft, and I'm hesitant to share it at this point. But maybe.
It's a way to get feedback, though, is to share it and get some comments on it.
So I've written some stuff. So now I'm reading over your notes about the operational issues and thinking, should I do a blog or should I do a little video? Maybe a video is easier. I don't know.
Well, if you do a video, what I would suggest is that you also have some text to go alongside it, so that the assessor doesn't have to watch the entire video if they to get what you're talking about. So basically, a summary in text underneath the video as well.
Okay.
Not that the assessors will be lazy, but it just kind of hits two formats. So the other thing that we've been doing is doing a little bit of tweeting using the hashtag CMALT. So if you're on Twitter, which we would encourage you to do because it actually creates a nice activity stream and evidence that you can use to show, to put into your profile. I've got an image here from Claire. She's obviously very artistic, and you can see there's been a little bit of activity on Twitter there. Even from the UK, so Culver, he was at Coventry University. I'm not quite sure where he is now. And Liz, who also was at Coventry, but I think she's working for someone else now. So you can see some of the activity on Twitter there. I've just done a bit of a summary via a Twitter moment. I quite like Twitter moments because you can sort of pull, curate tweets together into a bit of a story. And it gives you a bit of a record. The other thing that we'd suggested to do for last week was to have a go at this very short 10-question survey, which I've entitled Post-PowerPoint Pedagogy, just to try to get you thinking and try to stir up some sort of reactions. So you can see, I think so far we've had 12 responses. 13, there you go. Someone's just done it, just done their homework.
I did it this morning, so maybe I'm the added one.
Could be Sandy again. There we go. So I'm shared the results to that via Twitter and also in our P2 discussion and our Moodle discussion forum. Perhaps it's a good point to jump back to P2. So the P2 is linked from the WordPress blog as well. So it's cmaltteam.wordpress.com. So it's another form of discussion forum that we're exploring for this year. It's just been released by WordPress in the last couple of weeks. Apparently it's their version of Microsoft Teams and how they work remotely as an international team of developers, and they're slowly rolling out some public features for people. So you should have been received an invite to participate in that. So you can see there's 25 people that have accepted that invite so far. And I'd also suggest once you've accepted your invite, you could give yourself an icon rather than just the blank. And what WordPress does is uses Gravatar, which is kind of like an open, I suppose, profile. And you can fill that profile in with various details and make it a little bit of a online profile as well. So basically P2 is a discussion forum, and we've had a discussion forum on Moodle for the last few versions of the CMOOC, but haven't found a lot of interaction happening there. So I'm hoping we might get some more interaction through our P2 discussion forum. So I had a little bit of a discussion with Neil about P2 last Friday, actually, and he suggested perhaps I'd give people just a bit of a guided overview of how to use P2, what is it, which might help people to get into using it as well. So on the left-hand side, basically...
That'd be great, Tom.
Okay.
That'd be good.
Cool. That's Mark there. He's got his headphones on now. So on the left-hand side, basically you have your menus. You have a bit of an overview of the team via their icons. It has, when you're logged in, it'll tell you the new posts if you haven't read them all. So you can click on those and it kind of pulls them into the page. Any new comments since you last looked, and your mentions, and also the posts that you've done yourself. So that just pulls those into the front of the page for you. But the main menu, there's these 3 lines at the top here on the left. It'll look a little bit different on mobile. Just kind of reformats things, but all the content's the same. So by clicking on the little menu here, you can share documents. So I've got the CMALT guidelines there as a PDF currently, but you can share other documents that are relevant. Probably one of the useful things for them to add would be folders, which I'm not aware that they've done yet, but we could perhaps create a Google Drive folder if we get lots of documents. And then I've just put some of the core links here, so it take you back to the WordPress hub, to our Google Map, to Tags Explorer to get a bit of analysis of the Twitter stream, and also the project bank. So there's just a few direct links there. So it's pretty sort of basic, cut down version of WordPress effectively. And they've also rolled out at the same time their new editor. So if you've been using WordPress before, you might have noticed they've updated the editing tools they've used. Before it was effectively like a WYSIWYG editor. Someone's using Word, etc. And you've got these 2 pluses, which is perhaps not the most intuitive, but the plus here lets you basically create a text block and just gives you the basic sort of WYSIWYG editing. And if we click into one of those blocks, you get your WYSIWYG tools up here. You can insert HTML, etc. If you make a mistake, you can remove the block, etc. Duplicate, blah, blah, blah. But the real powerful one is the one on the left-hand side, the plus. If you click on that, suddenly you get all these sort of presets that you can add in as content into the discussion forum. So you can embed a PDF, you can create lists, you can make a quote style format. The code one, it basically allows you to display code so it doesn't interpret the code. So if you're wanting to share code without it trying to interpret the HTML, etc. in a WYSIWYG way, then you choose the code, tables, etc. It's got some presets for different types of media, creating like galleries, audios, etc. Some different design elements, some widgets, so you can insert polls if you want to ask questions. The blog post one basically sort of pulls in together the most recent blog posts and allows you to format those like a list or more of a graphical sort of a view of recent blog posts. Custom HTML allows you to embed stuff. So I've done things like embed our collaborative Google Map using that. So I copied the embed code from Google Maps, pasted that into the custom HTML block, and that's how that was embedded. And then there's some direct embeds for different types of content: Twitter, YouTube, Google Calendar, Vimeo, SoundCloud, etc. Just to make them
while you've got your brief there, Claire's just asked a question in the chat area. I thought you might want to pop into that and have a look.
Okay, what's the question about?
Yeah, okay, so I'll read it out to you. Sorry, Claire.
Oh, I can speak, it's okay.
All right, thank you. Yep,
I have no idea what's going on, to be honest. I don't understand where I meant to look for what, and what this P2 page is meant to be about compared to the other WordPress page. And then it seems like there's now 3 different places to be discussing things plus presenting information in our own blog. I'm not sure I'm understanding what I'm meant to do where.
Sure. So the P2 is basically a discussion forum. And the idea is there it's more of a team-based, so you can see the people have accepted the invite there, so it's for everyone to contribute and give comments and feedback, etc. The WordPress hub itself is basically the outline, and effectively just the facilitators have access to update that and put content, etc. So it's more like the, I suppose, you know, how would you would use an LMS. So it's where we're heading, the outline, and everyone can comment on that, but only the facilitators can actually post and create content there. And from there, I'll link to the various other resources. So we have had in the past, and linked off here, the Moodle discussion forum. So we've originally started with a Google Plus discussion forum for participants to, you know, be able to share and discuss ideas and contribute. But you know, what I found really is that it seems to be, I don't know whether it's just because it's Moodle or what, it really seems to be mostly me posting and making announcements, and no matter how much I try to encourage people to be active there, they don't seem to be. So that's why there's currently 2 discussion forums, because I'm exploring, maybe P2 might be slightly more friendly for people to contribute and discuss on.
Tom, what is it that you're wanting us to discuss? I think might be the real question. If you're the one posting announcements and stuff, what is it that you're wanting us to discuss on these discussion pages?
I guess it's about your journey as you're creating your CMALT portfolios, giving feedback on people. So Kath's posted, you know, her contextual statement there. You could read it, give us some feedback. If there's research or, you know, content or resources that you think are relevant to people as they're you know, pulling together their CMALT portfolios, and then post that as well. So maybe there's some you know, stuff around learning design that you'd like to share, that you think other people would benefit from. Anything that's relevant to technology enhanced learning.
Okay.
You know, put it in the discussion.
Tom, I was wondering, I've just posted something that maybe one of the issues is we're a bit more like the standard student that we're willing to actually admit, because I know there's been plenty of cases. So I'm a learning designer and I help academics with teaching online, and this assumption that if you build a discussion board, they'll love it, they'll get onto it, they'll engage with it, they'll do all sorts of fun things, but that's usually not the case. You actually have to give them something concrete to do. So the idea of, oh, share your experience, maybe something a little more concrete for us to, you know, a specific topic about CMALT. So say, I don't know, some issue, that's something that we can all get our teeth stuck into, and then
Sure.
we have something with a little more substance than, so what's your experience? How are you feeling? Because I don't know about everyone else, but I'm super busy at the moment. So if I've got something that's, you know, a little more structured, I'll go, yeah, I can do that, bang that out in half an hour, and then go on my way. Yeah,
so each week we're suggesting various activities, 2 or 3 activities, and so this week sharing a digital literacy map. So as you create that, you could either comment on what did you think of that process, is it useful as a digital literacy exercise, you know, maybe you've found something else that's more relevant for, you know, exploring digital literacies. You can share that. And what I've got here is a link to the OCLC site, where they've actually got a tool for you to be able to create a digital literacy map, the visitor and resident map. And then you can take a screenshot of that, share that, etc. So each week we have 2 or 3 suggested activities. And I guess these effectively, hopefully, get you thinking and also sharing around those. So that's kind of the idea. But very much keen for it to be, you know, driven by participants rather than about content as such. So I'm kind of reticent to, you know, be overly directive, because I'd really like it to be about the community and the community sharing. So as far as this week goes, I have suggested that you could create either a blog post on your own ePortfolio blog if you're using WordPress, whatever you're using. That could be a video cast. You could explore that. That's why Michael was kind of talking about that before. But the key thing there would be keep it short. Don't make it a 10, 15-minute video because it'll probably be quite boring. So keep it nice and succinct and a bit of a summary if you're going to use something like video. And I suggested you could use YouTube, Vimeo, Instagram. There's a really nice video editing tool on iOS called Clips, which I like. Whatever you want to use. And then explore this idea of the visitor-resident map. And this is an idea came from Dave White from the UK and was a response really to the idea of digital natives and digital immigrants. So when you're talking about operational issues and things like what are the pros and cons of various technologies, I think this is one way to be able to critique, what's the use of social media in education? And are our students actually digital natives? Do they know how to do all this stuff or don't they? Well, let's find out. Let's get them perhaps to do a map and see how they use these various tools. And so the idea of these activities is hopefully about to feed into evidence into these various sections of your portfolio. The other part of operational issues is your technical knowledge and ability in using learning technology. So providing evidence of that, critically reflecting on that, and what's been the impact of your technical knowledge and ability and use of learning technology for your target learners, whether that be other academics or students. And then the third part of operational issues. So it'd probably be quite useful in each of these sections to structure it according to the subheadings. So there's 3 subheadings for operational issues when you're creating your own portfolio. The third one being supporting the deployment of learning technology. So basically providing evidence of how you have supported people, beyond yourself and your own students to really roll out various learning technologies. So, maybe you've created a resource, maybe you've run a workshop, maybe you've been involved in a conference and done a presentation, etc., talking about your experiences and sharing it with other people. A whole variety of types of ways that you can provide evidence of support for the deployment of learning technologies. So that's kind of week 2, and that really is trying to guide you to get something put into your own ePortfolio around operational issues. So I'm going to stop screen sharing there. So any other questions? Yeah, Marion.
So one of the reasons why I decided to do this was because I don't think I have the technical skills or the technical know-how to actually do certain things. So some of the words that you're using go above my head. So I'm not even sure exactly what to do or how to do a blog, for instance, sometimes as simple as that. I mean, I know I've done stuff before on the web, but I'm just not sure whether my skills are up to that standard. So I was hoping that through participating in this course, I learned some of those skills as well. Mm-hmm. I feel as though you're assuming that I know how to do these things, and I'm a little bit out of my comfort zone.
Sure. So as far as creating a portfolio goes, it doesn't have to be a blog. It could be something like Mahara. It could be Google Sites.
Sorry. So you're using already terms that I'm not even familiar with. I don't even know what Mahara is.
Right. Okay, so I guess these are perhaps some of the questions that you could ask on the discussion forum of the other participants. So it's not just, you know, me. Well, I'm really keen for other people to sort of, you know, provide feedback for participants as well.
Yeah, but I think one of my issues is I don't know what I don't know. So I don't know what to ask if I don't know what it is. Like Mahara is the first time I've heard people use that term, for instance.
Okay,
Yeah.
Mahara is an ePortfolio system that's quite common that a lot of institutions have. I'm not sure if University of Melbourne actually supports Mahara, but Canvas, as far as an LMS does have a very basic ePortfolio built in. It's not a very good ePortfolio, but you know, if you want something very basic, you can use Canvas. Google Sites is another tool that people often use to create an ePortfolio. It's a very simple website creation tool.
Could I just make a suggestion? I mean, I completely understand what you're saying, because I think that a lot of us come from a position of, you know, not knowing anything. But I feel like that was me maybe a year or two ago, and it is very incremental. So it feels to me like you just have to suck it and see. You know, you have a go. Like, I think the guidance in the week one, if you have a go at that and it doesn't work out, like I got that completely wrong and muddled, but I sort of muddled through, and the muddling through, actually you learn a lot through that muddling through process. And then the next time, like when Tom's talking now, I understand him better than I did last year or the year before. So it does take time. And I think a few people have said that they've done this and then they've come back to it a second time. And I do feel like it's not something you can, it's not like learning content. You don't just learn off a list of things. It's sort of, it's very practice oriented, and you just have to play with it. And I feel like a lot of us are nervous about playing, including our students are nervous about playing with things. But that then, just by having a go at the various tasks, you pick up stuff. So, and it doesn't have to be perfect, you know, as I say, if you follow the links and just have a go at it, you'll probably learn something. And then after 7 weeks, you might say, well, actually, you know what, I want to do that again.
And the idea of actually creating stuff yourself is that in the process of doing that, you're creating evidence that you can then put into your portfolio as a default. Neil, you wanted to jump in?
Yeah, I think Kath's kind of covered what I was going to say. I did this last year, and I had a sort of rudimentary knowledge of a lot of the tools that Tom introduced, and some of them I didn't know anything about. But I think the really enlightening thing was just to try them out and to see how they worked. And I think, as Kath just said, you know, incrementally you build up some knowledge and skill about how these different things work. So I think it does take quite a lot of time. But the great thing about sort of being involved with new technology is you can learn something new every day, and it really builds over time. So I, as Kath said, I would go through the lot of exercises, if you like, that Tom suggests for the week, and learn, you know, three new tools, or be introduced to them, and just gradually get used to different tools, and then you'll find the ones that suit you and that you'll use again and again.
Yeah, I think that's you know, how most of us learn, is we try something. If it works for us, we, you know, build on that. If it doesn't meet our needs, then you don't have to use it. You know, it's there's a whole variety of ways of doing something. There's no one way to do it, which I suppose kind of feeds into this idea of operational issues as well, because, you know, the whole concept of what, you know, you can use it as a critique. The way that universities approach educational technology is a one size fits all. You know, we have a learning management system as a default. So, and the assumption is that you can do everything with that one tool. Well, it doesn't, does it? and it doesn't necessarily suit every context either. So sort of, those sorts of things are the types of things you need to discuss in things like operational issues. Do you understand what some of the pros and cons of different learning technologies are, or how does learning technology inhibit or get in the way, or how does it enable? And sort of critically reflect on those. Julie, do you have any wisdom for us? I'll put you on the spot.
Look, I think sometimes with these, if you have doubts, it's really just good just to jump in, boots and all, I find, and just treat it like you just put aside an hour here and there and just have a play. We're all on our own journey. We're all on our own personal journey, I think, with this. I didn't get to this until what was it, 4:30 this morning, I think, Tom, I finally got to do my contextual statement. I started it because I couldn't get to it on the weekend. So, it's, and then I'm just trying to post mine now and just say that it's, a lot of it sounds very descriptive, not analytic at this point. So I think, but you use this opportunity to suit your own needs. I think, Tom's really supporting all of us, and we should be supporting each other, but use this to support, drive your own needs in terms of your professional needs, and to learn more about the technologies. I think using Twitter and using the discussion WordPress site, we just need to loosen up a bit and be reaching out to each other, I think, because that's really one of the goals, from my point of view, is to have this this global community, to be able to reach out and support each other and say, hey, I don't know how to do this. Have you got 10 minutes just to respond, or talk me through it? And that is so important. That's why we're here, I think, really, to learn more. Yeah, that's the key for me. It's not about me. It's not about the content that I've outlined. It's about the community, this group of people, and that's why. Every version of the CMALT that we've run is unique, because it's a different group of people contributing their experiences. Mark, you've been pretty quiet. Any thoughts?
Look, I've been also struggling with some of the stuff, and I thought I knew WordPress in the old as an completely baffled by this new block stuff, and I'm wondering, is there a sort of a simple guide on how to sort of set it up so I can use that for my portfolio? Because I'm a bit lost with that. Maybe somebody's got some ideas on how you easily do that.
I think there's a lot of resources you could look at. So what used to be lynda.com or LinkedIn Learning, there's tons of little videos there. Look on YouTube, you'll probably find an 8-year-old showing you how to use WordPress. And as you discover stuff, then perhaps create your own tutorials. So I think that's the way to go forward. You really struggled with setting this particular feature up, creating this particular section or whatever. Well, then create a little guide for other participants, and once again, that becomes evidence of you supporting the deployment of learning technologies.
Okay, yeah, that's a good suggestion.
So Claire is showing us, is that what it looks like on mobile, Claire?
No, that's Google Sites.
Okay. So that's what you're using for your portfolio?
Well, it's I took everything you said on board with WordPress, and I've used WordPress before, and I just got frustrated because, when you first step into a platform, you're not quite familiar with it. And I was going, I really want it to look like this template. And I just couldn't get the mechanics of it to work properly. And I just did what a lot of academics I work with do. I just slipped back to what I was familiar with. So I know Google Sites inside and out, and it's very simple to use and set up. And it's probably not as sophisticated as what WordPress can do, but it's just so much easier. So I just went, and I've spent about 4 hours trying to nut out WordPress, and then just went, no, I'm just going to go the easy route, and just went to Google Sites because it's just easier. Yep. But I feel a little bit of a coward.
No,
I think
it's fine.
that's
It's what
fine.
works for you.
Yeah, I agree, Claire. I think that's fine. I'm staying with my blogger.com blog that I've had since 2005. I've had a WordPress blog, but I'm just not. I've sort of closed that off at the moment. So I'm just sticking with Blogger, and it looks, my poor old blog is a bit tired, but that's where I'm staying at the moment. So, but doing this will help to refresh it, maybe.
So I guess, you know, we recommend, well, I recommend different tools, but, you know, as I say, they're not the only way to do things. And I'd like to get away from there's only just one way to do stuff. But there are reasons for some, you know, some of the suggestions, not trying to just recommend stuff just on a whimsy. WordPress powers over 30% of the web. So, you know, it's a really tried and true platform. It's not the most intuitive to set up, but it's, you know, been a long-standing platform. So it's unlikely to go away tomorrow. Blog is another one that's been around for many, many years. So blogger.com is another good choice. Google Sites is probably going to be around for a long time. The only issue you have with a lot of Google tools is every now and then they just decide to shut them down and move on. So, you know, you make your choices, you try to make good choices. And if it's something that you want to use long term, try to make choices for platforms that are going to be around for a while. And I guess that's part of the issue I also have around when we get our students to use an institutional system, is that it might serve them for 3-4 years, but when they graduate, do they still have access? Or is all that work, is that, you know, evidence of their work, etc., lost once they are no longer paying their fees to get access to the institutional platform? One of the other reasons that I suggest Twitter, WordPress, Mendeley, etc., is because of altmetrics. So if you're interested in getting alternative measures of impact for your research, then choosing tools or platforms that altmetrics supports is another way to do that. So WordPress is one of the platforms that altmetrics checks. If you post about your research and on your blog post on WordPress, you put the DOI to your article, that's going to get tracked via altmetrics. Twitter, same thing. If you tweet your latest research article and put the DOI in the tweet, it's going to get tracked by altmetrics. Same with YouTube, metadata, descriptions. So it's about choosing tools that hopefully are going to give you more bang for the buck, that actually can work together, and taking the longer view. And I guess it's just sort of building on experience and trying to suggest platforms that will be helpful longer term. Any other thoughts? Keith, how have you been going?
Oh, good. I'm having a ball. But I think I was in a situation very similar to everyone else. And while we've been chatting, I've been playing around with the digital literacy mapping tool. And I found that's actually helped me think a little bit about, you know, what I already know and what I want to get out of this course a little bit. So I'd suggest, I can't remember who asked the question about it, but I would suggest that's a good place to start, to play around with the digital literacy mapping tool, and then share it.
So Keith, you haven't done that before? You haven't done a VNR map before? Have you heard of the concept before?
No. I mean, I have huge problems with the notion of digital natives versus digital immigrants for a lot of reasons. But I also think, you know, there's a difference between a conscious application and you know, just I'm doing it because everyone else is doing it. You know, that kind of application and use of technology. But your comments, Tom, about we need to be mindful about how we lock students into particular ecosystems and what happens once they graduate is so important. You know, there's some fantastic stuff coming out about, you know, let's get rid of LMSs and you know, make the web our LMS and stuff like that, which I think is, you know, it's adventurous, but we're just not there yet. But, you know, who's to say we might not be there in the future? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I'm trying to advocate and achieve is to get people away from the fear factor of trying something new.
Yeah.
And that includes us as you know, educators and our students. So that whole myth of digital natives, that students are willing to try anything as far as technology goes and know all about it, they've already done it. Well, it's a myth, they haven't. And by doing something like that VNR mapping exercise with them, you'll probably most likely find out that the only domain they're really, really active in is the social domain with education, with technologies. And the core technologies that they're using are Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, and YouTube. If they're going beyond that, they're pretty unique. So those are the only domains that they're actually, you know, engaging with, but they're only engaging with them socially. They're not engaging with them in a professional domain or in education either.
Yeah, yeah. No, good fun. I mean, but you're absolutely right. You've got to jump in and just have a go and not try to do everything at once. That's the mistake I often see people make, is that they want to learn WordPress and they also want to learn, you know, HTML, and they also want to learn, you know, it's like, no, just one thing for a little while and then do something else, you know? Yeah.
Yep. So Claire's just posted in the chat about University of Melbourne exploring ePortfolios platforms. Well, they are. Yep, that's quite a big project at the moment. But I think one of the keys would be transferability, transportability of your portfolio between platforms. So, you know, it's great to have an institutionally supported system that, you know, the IT department can give people the sort of support that they need. But the key is, can people take their intellectual property with them beyond that? Is it transportable or not? And if it's not, then, you know, I've got huge ethical issues around that. Dr. Cowling, how are you going on your portfolio?
Yeah, well, as I said to you, I've written the contextual statement, and I think Julie's guilt tripped me into posting it to the forum because she posted hers and she wrote hers at 3 a.m. So, and so I've done that. In terms of platforms, I've never been a big fan of WordPress. I don't like the blogging nature of it. Sort of like the latest blog post comes at the top, and then you kind of got to scroll through and find the older stuff. I preferred, so I looked at Google Sites, and Google Sites seems better. But as you said, I'd be worried about Google Sites disappearing one day. That's just Google's thing. One day they'll just shutter a project and just say, "Oh, we've just decided, you know,
we've got all the data we need off you." So
yeah, and that would really worry with Google. So in the end, I actually use Squarespace, which is a hosting platform, and it's for my website in general. And I've just put as I think it was Keith, I've just added my CMALT portfolio to it. It cost me $10 a month, but at least because I'm paying them money, I feel like it's sort of more likely to hang around.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I don't have to do sort of the blog. I can do a bit more of a structure, sort of here are the sections. Here's the contextual statement. Here are the sections. So yeah, it's chugging along.
So a quick tip with WordPress, you can, it's just one of the default options as to what is the entry page. So by default, it's the blog page, but you can make any page, any of the static pages that you create, the entry page for your WordPress site. You don't have to go through the blog as the entryway. It's basically just to tick the box or untick the box.
Okay.
The dashboard, what WordPress call the dashboard.
Okay.
Any other thoughts, discussion points, issues?
Tom,
yeah.
Neil, I just want to say I think you're a very good role model for trying things out, because like P2, you said it only came out 2 weeks ago, but already you're making it the main discussion basis for this group, and I think that's a very good thing to do. You know, if it was me, I would probably spend 6 months worrying about it works. So I really admire and respect the way you just decide to jump in, and I think that's a good pattern to follow for the rest of us.
Well, thanks, Neil. Yeah, I try not to just randomly choose things, but I guess part of the attraction for me around P2 is because if you are using WordPress for your ePortfolio, then it's you know, just kind of makes sense to use it for a discussion forum as well. Stuart, we haven't heard from you. Whereabouts are you at with creating your ePortfolio?
It's still a work in progress. It's been a bit of a hectic week, but hopefully the next day or so is a plan.
And what do you intend to use for your platform, Stuart?
So look, I've started in WordPress. So I've also struggled with it. I haven't used WordPress for about 4 or 5 years. So I did have a site set, or do have a site set up 4 or 5 years ago, but I haven't used it for ages. So just getting my head around the changes that have happened in that time. But it's, yeah, it'll get there. It's just a slow process.
Sure. Okay. Well, it's probably you know, enough of a bit of discussion today. So basically, just head to the CMALT.wordpress.com site, have a look at week 2 outline, have a go at those 3 suggested activities, and share any of that. I suggest via the P2 discussion forum on Twitter if you're on Twitter, and I guess that's another reason why I quite like WordPress as the direct link to Twitter. So whenever I create a post, I've linked my Twitter account, and so it automatically tweets the link to that post as well. And just the way to make that really work is by putting into the title of the post a hashtag that you're wanting to push out via Twitter. So when I'm creating something for the CMOOC on WordPress, I make sure I put the hashtag #CMALT into the title. And when it auto tweets, because it's set up with my Twitter account, then that hashtag goes out in the Twitter announcement link. So yeah, just kind of trying to think a little bit more clever about how you use tools, and use tools that can work together and amplify what you're doing. It's quite a nice term, is, you know, how can you amplify your presence online? And using technology about do it. And I suppose once again, it comes into that sort of critical reflection of what are some of the operational issues around using technology, and what tools should you use, and how many should you use, and how many different platforms should you use. And, you know, like the key for me is what I like to call an ecology of resources, a group of tools that work together well, that create a sustainable ecology, not something that's going to one tool that does everything, or tools that are going to disrupt what you're doing. Create something that's going to work together well. Okay, well, thank you, everyone. Looking forward to seeing what you share over the next week. Looking forward to some more activity on Twitter, on the P2 discussion forum. If you haven't done the survey from week 1, that's still open, and the results are there, so you can have a quick look at it and see how you compare to other participants. So thank you all. Catch you later.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
See ya.
See you, everyone. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you all. Thanks, Lisa.